for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Tuesday, November 12th. How is everyone doing tonight? Special thanks to all of you for watching and all of you for listening. It is the Sick Podcast, and you're watching us right now on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know what's going on with Twitter, by the way. You used to be able to watch us on Twitter, and I think we're going to get that back. But for the last couple of weeks, there's been something going berserk with Twitter, and we're trying to stabilize everything. But anyway, we'll get to it. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by several sponsors, and we thank them all. We'll start with Playground. If you're looking for the ultimate experience, Playground has it all. Gaming, poker, fine dining, live music, DJs, all with unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Just minutes from downtown Montreal. Across the Mercier Bridge, Playground, your top destination for fun. I was there on Saturday. As a matter of fact, with most of my family, and had a great time. Really, really did. Had a couple of beverages, took in the live band, played a little bit. It was good. It was good. Also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. They are a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different, and once again, they are a top fleet employer in Canada per Forbes. They're your top transport employer in the country, if you ask me. And also brought to you by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer. It's perfect for the cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, that is. It's available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. It was a day off for the Montreal Canadiens. No practice. The Canadiens, of course, played in Buffalo yesterday afternoon and won. And the Montreal Canadiens will have a practice tomorrow morning. And then in the afternoon, the Montreal Canadiens are going to fly out to where? To Minnesota. That's where, because the Montreal Canadiens will visit the Minnesota Wild tomorrow. Jot down the time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, which means that the Sick Podcast will be on immediately after the game between the Canadiens and the Wild, which probably will be somewhere between 10:40 p.m., 10:45 p.m., all right? So make note of that. And tomorrow night, I will be joined by Pierre Maguire, who for the rest of the hockey season will be exclusive for Montreal Canadiens post-game coverage to the Sick Podcast. So there you have it. Pierre will be joining me, and he won't be the only one joining me during post-games during the week, but he will be joining me for all weeknight post-game shows between now and the end of the regular season, as will, by the way, our other collaborators. So, for example, Maxime Lapierre is a collaborator on Tuesday nights when the Canadiens play. So Maxime will join us for about 30, 35, 40 minutes, and then Pierre will join us for 20, 25, or 30 minutes. We're going to have really, really great coverage going forward. I think you're really going to like it. Speaking of which, from Global TV Montreal, Brian Wilde, how are you?
I'm very well. You got a good stable going, as they say. You got a good stable.
Yes,
Horses.
yes. So we're really excited about having Pierre exclusively for weeknight post-game coverage and for Montreal Canadiens post-game coverage in general. But he'll be on all weeknights because, of course, we don't do Saturday podcasts just yet. But knowing Agnello, I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to come back and see me for that. And I'm going to say, Agnello, I need the Saturday off. Why? Because I'm going to Playground. That's why. How are you?
I'm very, very well. How are you? How are the Fridays going in French? Are you getting good numbers there?
Yeah, decent numbers considering that it's 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks, and last week was the first week that we went live. So people are starting to find out more and more about it. I give it a couple of months before everyone knows that we are on live Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and that's going to take off, I'm sure. We've already had Philippe Boucher on, Anthony Marcotte on, Anthony Martineau on, Mathieu Chouinard on.
Okay.
Norman Flynn joined us on one occasion, and yesterday I spoke with former NHL defenseman Alex Picard of TVA Sport, who told me that he is going to join me every now and then on the podcast as well. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah,
pretty excited about that. All right, okay. So I don't even know where to start because there's so much. But why don't we start with what people have been able to read on your Twitter feed over the last little while? You are the one who has been saying, okay, I think a lot of people know that you need to be patient in a rebuild, but you are the one who's been coming out and saying not all rebuilds go like this, because most of us, and I'm one of them, who have been calling for a progression. Like, I want to see the progression, right? I want to see the progression in the individual players. And yesterday, Slafkovsky looked fantastic, Caulfield looked fantastic, and Suzuki looked fantastic. But if you can forget about yesterday, we could have probably said that there was not a progression for Slafkovsky. Suzuki, we weren't sure. Caulfield, maybe yes. But anyway, you've been the one to say that it's not always like this going up. It can go up. It can go down. It can go back up. It can go back down. It can go back up, another notch up. Then it could go back down 2 notches.
Yeah.
Then it stays steady for a while. So elaborate on that if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a stock chart. You just finished saying that there doesn't always, right? The actual truth is I couldn't find a single one that the team progressed by 5-10 points every year without a drop back down. I couldn't find one rebuild that kind of just went like that. It doesn't exist. Not one. And you want to know why? I tried to research what happened. I looked at a bunch of lineups to figure out why the rebuilds kind of went 65, 75, 55, 65, 55. And here's the answer. During the rebuild, the first 2 years, and we saw it with the Canadians, and it continues, for the first even 3 to 4 years, you're continuing to drop all of your veterans, right? And your veterans, is as much as they're not going to win you a cup, they're the ones that are stabilizers. They have enough experience. They know how to win. But you keep trading them away, starting with Tyler Toffoli and Ben Sherratt. And then a guy that was stabilizing last year is Sean Monahan, and now he's gone. So all of these veterans are dropping off the table, right? But who are you replacing them with? So far, nobody. You're only replacing them, and all rebuilds are the same. Year 1, they drafted Slafkovsky and Hudson. They finally joined the league. But all of those great picks they're making are still in the American Hockey League or juniors or Europe or college. So all of the replacements aren't there. So as a result of the veterans leaving, the rebuild goes like this, and then the veterans are gone. There's no rookies to pick up, no draft picks to pick up the slack, and the team just keeps cratering until the new group is now the first ones that have arrived, veterans, and now smart. And the next wave that arrives are so talented because the picks were so good. And then you finally go up in year 5. I looked at a lot of rebuilds, and it's amazing, Tony, if I could for just a second, how long they take. In year 3, Buffalo had 54 points in year 3 of their rebuild. Detroit had 39 points in year 3. Ottawa had 62 points in year 3. Those are bad rebuilds that are still continuing. Buffalo hasn't made the playoffs since 2011. Detroit, 2016. Ottawa, 2017. Here's some good rebuilds. Toronto, 69 in year 4. If they didn't get Austin Matthews, who knows how that one would have gone. The Rangers had the best rebuild. They were 77 points in year 4 and 110 in year 5. Quite clearly the best rebuild out of all of them. Good reason why. Trouba said, I only want to play there. Fox said, I only want to play there. Panarin said, I only want to play there. They won the lottery to get Lafreniere. That's what happens when you have a 5-year rebuild. It's the only one I could find that was 5 years, except for the Hawks, who also got really lucky. They got Taves, a leader, a champion. They got Kane at 1, who ended up being a superstar. They got Keith and Seabrook. And so then they had the big 5, and they won 3 cups. That was the 5-year rebuild. The Ranger was a 5-year rebuild. What about the Oilers? The Oilers in Edmonton, they call it the Decade of Darkness. That's the name for it from the Edmonton media, the Decade of Darkness, to tell you how long it took. And in year 4, they had 45 points. So if it seems grim here sometimes, it's grim everywhere. It is a hard thing to accomplish. And so when we are at 35 months in this rebuild, because I called it 35 months, because that's when Jeff Molson said, let's tear it down, let's do a rebuild. He hired Kent Hughes. It's 35 months. We're still in year 3 of this.
I think one of them that really you talked about the Rangers, rightfully so. I think we should look at the Penguins. Now, I could be wrong, but when Crosby broke into the league, it was 2005, 2006, correct? They were like the second worst team in hockey.
Right. Same year as Carey Price. They won the lottery.
That is correct, yeah. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins went from the second worst team in hockey to the following year, finishing 10th. Yeah. And I've just pulled up the stats now. The following year after that, finishing 4th. Then the year after that, finishing 8th, but around the same amount of points, I think. Then the year after that, finishing 8th with actually more points than the year before. So that's an improvement. And then the year after that, finishing 4th in the league. That's an improvement. The year after that, finishing 4th in the league with more points. That's an improvement. The year after that, finishing in second. Hold on a second. I don't quite have it. I think actually second in the league. So that's an improvement, but that was a lockout year. And the year after that,
2004.
The Pittsburgh Penguins were 2014. We're actually back in 6th place with around the same amount of points. The Penguins, for a good 10 years, they went up.
And that's what Hughes, and that's why he was talking today and last night, why he's talking with the media and trying to sell the message that you could probably help yourself with some short-term gains, but he's trying to build something here that lasts like the Pittsburgh Penguins for a decade. Yeah. So, it's got some pain in it, this thing. It's got some pain. And if we can pull it off, it's going to be glorious. But you've got to get lucky in the draft and have the talent too. Yeah, right? For sure. Let's hear from Kent Hughes on that note, who met with members of the media today. Unfortunately, I don't think there were many around. All the clips were in French. It lasted about just under 7 minutes. But let's hear what Kent Hughes had to say, and of course, we'll translate.
C'est ça, c'est pour nous aussi. Parce que c'est sûr que quand tu parles, tu veux tout donner à ton équipe pour améliorer leurs chances, mais il faut qu'on soit patient puis qu'on demeure sur notre plan. On ne fera pas des choses à court terme qui vont nuire à ce que c'est nos objectifs à long terme pour cette équipe. Des fois, écoute, avec une jeune équipe, comme on dit, on va avoir plus d'erreurs des fois, puis tu peux faire un changement, peut-être emmener quelqu'un qui a plus d'expérience fera moins d'erreurs, mais ça va enlever aussi le temps de cet joueur de prendre l'expérience pour qu'une journée, il ne fera pas de ses erreurs.
There you have it. Basically talking about patience with development. So, And
live with heirs. Live with heirs.
No Band-Aids, he says. No Band-Aids because he says you want to give the young guys an opportunity so like that they make those mistakes. So like that when they've arrived, they're not going to make those mistakes anymore. But if you put a Band-Aid and you get another player, a veteran player or maybe a better player, then that younger player doesn't have the opportunity to make those mistakes. And then finally, when he'll get his opportunity, when he should have already arrived by then and been at his best, then he's making those mistakes. Look, it all makes sense to me. Really, it does. Having said that, I don't think they expected to lose 6 in a row and 10 of 12 before winning yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% on that because the message is the same, but I'm sure they're surprised that while they believe in the message and they believe in the plan, I think they're a little bit surprised that the learning experiences at times are as severe as they are.
How about the whole progression thing, though, of individual players? It's funny because Slafkovsky yesterday
Mm-hmm.
And I understand he can't play like that all the time, because if he would, he'd be a dominant power forward in the National Hockey League. But
Sure,
Matt
why not?
Slafkovsky gave us a glimpse once again.
Yeah.
He gave us a couple of those glimpses last year.
Yeah.
Last night, he gave us a glimpse of just, how effective and how good he can be.
And I think that's what it's all about too. Like I'm looking at it here, and I've just explained obviously in great detail how it's a progression as a team, but it's also progression and regression as individuals too, because you as an individual, we'll take Slafkovsky here, are trying to continue to develop your game. And then once you take it on a different avenue, sometimes the other avenue tends to get forgotten too. Like if you're in the process of learning and you're concentrating on the thing you're trying to learn, you can kind of forget and lose touch with what you've already learned. And it doesn't always come together in a linear way either for individuals. But we have to remember the dude's 20.
Yeah.
The dude is 20 and he's third on the team in scoring. And it's his third year in the National Hockey League. And when you consider the big gamble that everyone thought they took, like on that night, I polled everybody on Twitter, 86%, Tony, wanted Shane Wright, 86% before the pick. 7 wanted Cooley, and 7 wanted Slafkovsky. They got it right, because as much as I really like Cooley, I'll take the big package in the playoffs. I'll take the guy who can be the power forward and do what he's doing. It's going to be close.
Don't forget, though.
I'll take Slafkovsky.
Don't forget, though. By one of the reasons they also passed on Cooley is they went out and they made a trade for Kirby Dach.
Right.
They thought they had their second line centerman. Now, ultimately, it might not end up being Kirby Dach, and it might end up being Michael Hage, for example. And if it is Michael Hage, then they've stole one with Slafkovsky.
Yes.
But if they don't end up having, if they can't fill that spot at center for a while, then
let's look at that draft.
Bring
that draft up.
Yeah,
bring that draft up. It is a bad draft so far. When you consider that we're in now year 3, and yes, defensemen take a while too, but Juracek was supposed to be someone. He's really struggling. Nemec was just sent back to the minors from that draft.
Yeah.
Cutter Gauthier at 5 may be the best player from that draft in 5 years, because I really like his style, but I don't think has scored yet this season. So, I mean, the guy that's doing it best so far is actually Slafkovsky. And Grant tweeted, and he wasn't trying to make a point over who he thinks is going to be the greatest in the long run, but Slafkovsky, after 150 games, has the same amount of points as Jack Hughes in his first 150 games. Now, we're not saying that the future is Jack Hughes for Slafkovsky, but we're just trying to make the point. That's a hell of a pretty good 150 game start for him. What do you got in the draft? Who have I missed?
Yeah. So Juraj Slafkovsky went number 1 to the Canadiens. Simon Nemec went number 2 to the New Jersey Devils. Logan Cooley went number 3 to Arizona. Shane Wright, number 4 to Seattle. Cutter Gauthier, who does not have a goal in 14 games. Number 5 to Philadelphia. David Juracek, number 6 to Columbus. Kevin Korchinski, number 7 to Chicago. Marco Kasper, number 8 to Detroit. Matthew Savoy, number 9 to Buffalo. Pavel Mintyukov is a pretty good one. Went number 10 to Anaheim. Connor Geekie, 11 to Arizona. Matt Yachuk went 12 to Columbus. Frank Nazar went 13 to Chicago. Wrecker McGroarty went 14 to Winnipeg.
Miners.
And let's just finish off the top 15. Or maybe we can even go a little bit more than that. We'll do the top 20. Why not? So Jonathan Lekari-Maki, who was known as probably the best scorer in the draft, went 15 to Vancouver. Noah Ostlund went 16 to Buffalo. Joachim Kemmel went 17 to Nashville. Bixel went 18 to Dallas. Ogren went 19 to Minnesota.
Small.
And I shouldn't have stopped at 20 because it's Miroshnichenko.
The Russian who had the illness.
20 anyway. But but you know what?
See?
One of the
that's the COVID draft, man. It was a hard one. The kids didn't really get a chance to play, and then suddenly everybody had to evaluate them when no one had seen them. I think the Canadians did great, man. I think they did great. When that could have gone so bad, right?
Yeah, I want to check something out actually, and that is Okay. Logan Cooley has the most points per game.
Per game.
Yeah, he's at .57, and Slafkovsky's at .53.
Okay.
So it's close.
It's going to be close, but I'll tell you what, the one I would like to have in the playoffs when you need a big body, I'll take Slafkovsky. Definitely.
Yeah, look,
but I like Cooley too, and he's a nice player.
A couple of years ago, I said something to the effect of, if I were a betting man, I would say that when all is said and done, the more productive career will go to Logan Cooley. All right, because I think he sees the game, he thinks the game better, he sees the game better, and he's obviously a centerman. Centermen naturally are better playmakers. However, there are wingers who are amazing playmakers. Case in point, Patrick Kane. Case in point, Nikita Kucherov. And case in point, Slafkovsky yesterday looked amazing.
Yeah.
Having said that, I will say this: last year, with what Slafkovsky showed us, I understood why they picked him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, even if Cooley ends up being the best player in the draft, which we don't know, we'll have to wait 10 years. But last year, what I saw from Slafkovsky and what I saw from Slafkovsky yesterday, I understand why they picked him.
And now all he has to do is shoot again. He just has this, one of his tendencies is that he forgets to shoot. In the first year and a half of his career, everybody's like, can you shoot the puck, please? Because you got a nice shot. You find yourself in good areas because you're a big dude. So you find yourself in the high slot because nobody can handle you, or put yourself in front of the net and get some deflections, which you're good at too. And then he did it, right? I mean, his goal total, I think, was 17-ish in the second half of the season, which is pretty darn good. And now he's forgetting to shoot again. So that's a little thing that while he tries to learn something else, he kind of forgets that that's a part of his game. Because I think all of his, how many goals he got? 1? And 12 assists, something like that. I mean, he's third on the team in scoring. He's doing great for a team that's struggling, for sure. But he's not shooting again.
Yeah. Do we have the clip, Kent Hughes talking about learning a lot about the players? I think we have that. Not so sure we played it. Let's see if we can get it.
À gagner à chaque niveau. C'est aussi important de leur fournir la chance. Des fois, on regarde, on dit on peut ramener tel joueur pour nous aider, mais est-ce que ça nous aide, mais ça, au court terme, mais nuire au développement de cette joueur? Alors, c'est tout. Je pense pas qu'il y a une réponse facile. C'est pas toujours noir et blanc, mais on essaie de se faire guider par qu'est-ce qui est dans le bien des joueurs à long terme.
All right, there you have it. Learning a lot about our players. So, yeah, maybe they're not winning a lot of games, but we're learning a lot about our players, whether it's in the good or it's in the bad, whether it's in the good games or it's in the bad games. I'm going to mention a couple of players, and you're going to tell me, you're going to pretend to be Kent Hughes. You're going to tell me what you think they've learned about those players. All right?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay. Doc.
I think they've learned that he's going to need some time to get healthy again. That he's not a complete player right now, and he's not at his best for either fear for the knee or the knee's ability to propel him the same way he did before he wrecked it.
No hook.
I think they've learned that he doesn't implicate himself in the game enough.
Jack-Eye.
I think they've learned that as much as he brings physically, he needs time to gain experience to make the correct decisions.
Montembeault.
He's not the guy. They've learned he's not the guy.
Primeau.
They've learned he's definitely not the guy. And they've learned that they need Jacob Fowler to get good soon. When it counts.
Right.
What do you think of those assessments? What do you got?
Yeah, well, I'll give you one more. And obviously, I'm going with younger. I'm
right.
with both goalies, but I'm going
and
with
I think that's
players.
Smart.
Yeah. How about okay,
Gooley. How about Gooley?
Gooley.
I mentioned Gooley because I think what they did the other night with putting him on his natural side is something that should happen, because we're not trying to, if I'm speaking as you told me to, as if I'm Kent Hughes, we're not trying to create a scenario where Mike Matheson feels great about everything, because Mike Matheson's gone when this matters. We're trying to create a scenario where Cayden Gooley's on the correct side, playing the best hockey that Cayden Gooley can when he won the MVP of the Western Hockey League for the Edmonton Oil Kings, propelling them to the Memorial Cup almost single-handedly.
And he will be a left-handed defenseman if David Reinbacher and Logan Mailloux end up being top turning defensemen on the right side.
Right. So let him get his tutelage where he belongs. Like, I don't understand why he's on the wrong side there. So that is why I felt like I needed to mention his name. And finally, last night, they put him on the left side where he belongs. And if Mike Matheson feels that his game is going down a little bit as a result, well, so be it. Because in 2027, it's Gooley's game that we need developed, not Mike Matheson's.
I wouldn't be surprised if they continue like this. They keep Gooley at left defense. They put Matheson on his off wing at right defense. And I said this earlier tonight on GC on television that everyone loves the guy. Really, everyone does. But I'm starting to see, like, David Savard, he'll block the shot and he'll block them with his teeth if he has to. But you want this team to play at a certain pace. Mm-hmm. And with each passing day and each passing game,
I agree.
He's losing a step.
I agree.
So he's at the end of his contract. I believe they're going to trade him. I believe the three players whose contract are up at the end of this season, Yoel Armia, Christian Dvorak, and David Savard, will be traded before the deadline. I'm convinced of that.
I am too.
Right? I mean,
and you can hear it in the clips you just played that they're willing to watch these guys learn their lessons in the National Hockey League. And they're okay with it, and because they're thinking long term. And so you have some tough minutes and you learn with those tough minutes, and the coach is trying to help you through those tough minutes. And I think they're okay with it. So that means they're okay with more veterans leaving for more draft picks. I don't think they're looking at this as a 4-year plan or even a 5-year plan.
Yeah. So now, having said all that, a buddy of mine sent me a text message the other day, right? And I was of the opinion that you can't have all the young guys by themselves, right? You go back, you take a look at Stanley Cup winners for the last 30 years. There's at least one, there's sometimes two, sometimes even three defensemen, 30 plus years of age that are in the lineup. Mm-hmm. But a buddy of mine said this to me the other day, saying they should have traded Matheson at the draft last year. That's when his value was at its highest, and it'll never get higher than that. It's hard to disagree that that's when his value was at its highest with 62 points. And it's very hard to disagree with it'll never get higher than that. But that doesn't mean that you should have traded him. But I'm wondering what you think.
Well, my philosophy is that rebuilds take a while. So with that philosophy, I would say that you would trade him. My philosophy is that anybody that's high value, that's not going to be around when your rebuild target date is finished, you trade them. All of them. And so you go through some growing pains with young players, and that's okay, because if you're going through growing pains, that's great, because that means you might draft third instead of ninth. Super. Get a better player for when the rebuild is finished.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'd trade them all. Josh Anderson had a high value when they didn't trade him. That was a mistake.
Yeah. Gooley, by the way, we talked about Gooley before. He had a rough night at the office yesterday. He was a -3. We talked about Savard. He had a good day at the office. He was a +3. Cole Caulfield had 2 goals. Nick Suzuki had 2 goals and 2 assists. Juraj Slafkovsky had 2 assists. Kirby Dach had 2 assists. There were a lot of positives yesterday. They weren't great in the faceoff circle. Mind you, Dvorak was 59%. It was the only one that was good. But Cayden Primeau, you said something. He's definitely not the guy.
He's not the guy.
I hate to give up on players, Brian. Really, I do. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to say this, but I'll just say it. If I believed in him before, I'm not so sure I believe in him anymore. I'm sorry to say that, but it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 2 games, 4 games, 8 games, 10 games, 20 games. Like every shot, he seems very unsure of himself. He's looking back a lot.
He's very low in confidence right now. And the thing that you have to think of is like something that I always say, you got to give these kids until they're 25. And if they're not showing you anything at 25, then they're not going to show you anything. Even 24 or 23, they better start showing you something. And now, I mean, that's his age. He's 25. And so his time is dwindling. And I would have thought last year when they decided to not send him down and lose Jake Allen, that was the right call. But I think if they said, hey, listen, kid, you got to get your confidence back up, and we're sending you through the waiver wire and we hope we don't lose you, I don't think anybody's going to pick him up.
Now, having said that,
what do you think? You think somebody would pick him up?
Well, Kent Hughes was sure that somebody was going to pick him up last year.
Exactly.
And the only team that would pick him up this year, maybe, would be the team that wanted to pick him up last year. But they may have changed their mind. Having said that, there's some people watching right now that are probably saying, okay, you want to give up on Primeau because you don't think he's very good. But how about if Primeau becomes Charlie Lindgren? Charlie Lindgren was a Montreal Canadian until 27 years of age?
Yeah, it's true.
So it is true. But I would also say that, 2 of the last 3 seasons, Charlie Lindgren's save percentage has been .899 and .897.
Right.
And so he's good. He's clearly better than Primeau right now. But I don't think he's a player that if he becomes Charlie Lindgren, that you'll say, "Oh my God, I can't believe they got rid of him." Right? Like I don't think what I'm trying to say. I don't think Primeau comes back to haunt you. I don't think he comes back to haunt you.
He can be a better goalie than he is right now because he would probably call this, if he were honest and he was talking to his mom on the phone, he'd probably say, "This is the low point of my career, Mom." Right? Because more is expected of me. This is okay. Yeah. I could get away with this in Laval when I just turned pro, but they're expecting more of me right now. And I'm waving at things with my glove like I don't even know how to catch. Like that glove hand has been an issue since I first started watching him, and it still is. He puts it out and that thing misses it. So, I feel bad to be so negative. I don't really get off on it, but you got to paint the honest story here. The kid's having a lot of trouble right now, and I hope he recovers because he's a nice young man. But right now he's really, really struggling, and I think the best thing for him is actually to go to Laval. If I were the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, I would bring Dobesh up and I would put the kid in Laval. And if I lose him, I lose him. And it's okay because I don't think I say this because it's, as you said, because if I lose him, I lose him. I don't feel he's going to haunt me, which is just what you said.
Only one problem though. Okay, so let's just say you do lose him, and then you bring Dobesh up.
Right.
Then you need a goalie in Laval, and Laval is doing so well right now. You don't want to deprive Laval of a number one goaltender in Laval. That's the only challenge. Now, look, I'm sure they can go out and get another goalie. I get it. If you knew that he wasn't going to get picked up, it's an easy decision.
Right.
You send them down and you bring Dobesh up.
Right, because there's no shame in needing to go to Laval to get your game back. I mean, that's what Logan Mailloux did. Logan Mailloux was getting scored on a lot at the NHL level. I watched him in Laval last week. I went to the game. I watched his shifts specifically. The guy is like an absolute force down there, Tony. He's a force. He's the best defenseman in the league down there. And it just shows you that, there's that demarcation between the two leagues. And then when you get up here, you start second guessing sometimes. You've swiveled the wrong time and you feel anxious. Speed of play. Exactly. Yeah. It's a little higher. So he hasn't adapted yet to it at the NHL level. But when you're the best defenseman in the American Hockey League, it's just a matter of time. Like he's Brant Clark, who is now really great in LA.
Yeah.
It's just like, give him a little time. Logan Mailloux be a right side force in the NHL because he's an absolute animal down there. And physically, he scares the crap out of 80% of the players in that league. He gets up close to them like that. I'll tell you what, the opposition in the game that I watched, Providence, there's only one guy on that team that was willing to stand up to him at all.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to bring that like Jack Guy does too at the NHL level. I got a lot of confidence in Logan Mailloux, but right now you could see that he needed to go down, just like Primeau needs to go down. And maybe it feels right down there and you get your game back. And it's okay. It's okay.
A shout out to Betway, leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway.com or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 years old and over and play responsibly. I loved them yesterday, but I loved them all season. Leighton Hudson yesterday, too. We had a chance to see him on the first wave of the power play. Much to the delight, the Habs land on Twitter or on X, formerly known as Twitter. I always call it Twitter, by the way. I don't know why, but I just do.
So do I. I don't care.
Hudson was fun to watch yesterday.
Yeah, Hudson, and it was really cool, too, because you could see that they're starting to see his tendencies. Like one of the things that really, really worked is Cole Caulfield got a goal when he does this little shot pass, right? He doesn't plan on scoring with the thing, but he doesn't want it to be so soft as a pass that the recipient of it and every one of the defenders can react. So it's kind of got like 60 miles per hour on it, sort of. And he gave it to Caulfield, and Caulfield went boop, like Caulfield can, goal.
Yeah.
Third period, it did the exact same thing. Brendan Gallagher was right beside the net, and Brendan Gallagher just missed it. But they're really starting to read his plays instead of like being surprised by them, and it's increased his ability to impact the game positively.
So I don't remember which game it was, but it was a game. There was a game or two last week, as a matter of fact, but one for sure, where the line of Suzuki, Caulfield, and Doc had the worst share.
Yeah, I've ever seen
of expected goals for. I think it was
unbelievable.
I think it was like in the low 30s or high 20s.
Yeah,
it was really bad, right?
I saw it. Yeah,
I got a feeling the share was pretty good yesterday for Suzuki, Slafkovsky, and Doc.
71
share.
71 share. Yeah.
I don't think the number one lines did hit a 71 share all season.
The number one line has done even 60 all season.
Wow.
Yeah, that was by far the best that the number one line has done all season. Sadly, though, the second line did a 36. It just shows you how much this team needs a second line center. Like, I love Jake Evans. I mean, he gives it. That kid's got such a great attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's a fourth line centerman on a Stanley Cup team.
Exactly. It's a tall order for him to achieve. So he did a 36. But you can see, like, you add Demidov to that mix because he's going to be the most talented player on the team when he arrives as a player, right? He's your 100-point guy.
Could he play center?
You know what? I think Misa is the draft pick you want, or Higgins this year, and they might just be low enough to get one of those guys, and that would be a game changer.
If they get one of those guys,
it's a game changer.
Then they've arrived. Well, not yet until those guys arrive, but then they.
There you go, because they could still dip, and it could be a lot of frustration as we discussed.
But they'll be good.
But talent-wise, they're there. Yeah,
they'll be good because Patrick Laine will have another year in his contract. But even if Patrick Laine will be gone, let's just say, for example, if you could have Doc and you can have Slafkovsky and you can have Suzuki on your first line if you want to, and then you can have Cole Caulfield on your second line with Demidov.
Yeah.
And then by the time that centerman arrives, whether it's Michael Hage or it's a Misa or a Higgins, for example, which would be even better with all due respect to Michael Hage, and you slot one of those guys in there, boom, then all of a sudden you have your second line. Then Michael Hage all of a sudden is on a third line.
Owen back to fourth line.
Owen, Newhook is probably a winger on your third line, maybe, and maybe even Joshua Roy, who knows. And then all of a sudden you got an Owen Beck on a fourth line with a Florian Jacki. And maybe a Luke Tuck.
I love Luke Tuck. In Laval, oh my God, I love Luke Tuck. He was really one of my surprises when I watched. I really like that player. He's going to be a player, Luke Tuck. He's not going to score a ton of goals for you, but he's going to throw the body around. He plays smart defensively. He's a real pain in the arse. He's going to be a nice player. That was a good pick. Pick.
He's a Shane Corson, I think, who won't produce as much.
That's it. That's the kind of player he is. Yeah,
right?
I like that.
Right?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Because Shane produced at one point. I mean, he won't. I don't think he'll produce like Shane Corson, but he reminds me a lot of Shane Corson. He's not scared of anything.
Bad attitude out there, man. Bad attitude. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shane Corson had a season of 75 points. Yeah. And he had 3 seasons or 4 seasons in the 4 seasons, I think, in the 50s. Yeah, he won't be that. So
in Edmonton,
I think
when I covered him on a daily basis,
he'll be a poor man's Shane Corson.
Yeah, and that'll be fine because I mean, if he's throwing the body around and he's really responsible defensively and he's only getting 35, 40 points and he's a fourth line guy, that's an efficient, good hockey player. But you know what I love about the last 3 minutes that we're talking about is like everybody's really upset with the veterans on the team right now and how they're doing. And I'm sorry, but every time everybody gets upset with that, I'm always like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. The only reason it matters is if you can get like a second-round draft pick for them.
Yeah.
That's all it matters. They're not around for any of this. It's okay if the fourth line winger isn't holding up his end at the moment.
And you know what? Having said all of that, I will say this. I'm like beyond happy for Brendan Gallagher because
me too.
No one likes to criticize Brendan Gallagher. And
That's
we've
right,
had
they
to
don't.
we've had to do it over the last couple of years because you attach the contract. And you think about the contract, even though like the Canadians are in a rebuild and they wouldn't be able to use the extra money, and it doesn't matter. But it would have been really tough to see him go out that way. And now he might still dip because he's got 2 years left on his contract after this year.
27, yeah.
But if Brendan Gallagher goes out this way, what a nice way to go out. Like the same way you came in, like night in, night out, 100%, big time effort, scoring big goals for the team. I think he's been an incredible story. Really incredible story.
I bet you Brendan Gallagher's trying to earn himself another contract when he's 35, because that's how old he'll be when this one ends.
Wow.
I bet he wants to keep playing hockey, Tony. I bet. He loves it. He can't get enough of it.
Yeah,
he lives, breathes, sleeps it. He's probably got like he probably sleeps with his wife and a hockey stick. I mean, he just loves it.
Yeah. Mind you, if I played in the National Hockey League, and we know that careers aren't very long, you try and extend your career as much as you can because there's millions of reasons why you would want to do so.
Millions of them, 6.5 per season.
Millions. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Okay. So look, Canadians are in Minnesota. I want to end with this. Marty St. Louis said something, and I spoke to Denny Goetze about this earlier this morning. He had a great quote, by the way, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. Marty St. Louis said something to the effect of yesterday after the game. He said, when I was a player, he said, and I was in a slump, I used to ask myself if I would ever score another goal. He says, now as a coach, in the last slump we just went through, I was asking myself if I'd ever win another game.
Oh, wow.
And I said to Marty, and I said to Denny Goetze, I said, Denny, one of the things that I find Marty struggles with from time to time is that I'm not so sure that he's fully made the transition from player to coach. Because a lot of times when he talks, he sounds like a player instead of sounding like a coach. And then he said, well, I don't think we'll ever be able to take the player out of Marty St. Louis. And that was just, it was very simple, but it was very well put, right? I don't think we'll ever be able to take the player out of Marty St. Louis. But, like I said, he sounded like a player, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And it made me think when you were saying that, like, obviously a ton of coaches were former players, and what's different about them, like a Craig Berube to start. And when you look at them and you talk to them, you're right. It feels personal with Martin St. Louis sometimes, doesn't it? But I love him, and I'd love to hear what Kent Hughes. I love these clips you played because it just gives me the greatest confidence that they are not going to make an error to placate the angry voices.
But I never thought they would, though. Did you ever think they would? I never thought
I didn't ever think they would, but it's really nice to hear. And especially considering that the previous group management team did all the time.
Yes. They had a plan, and their emotions got in the way of their plan.
Always. I mean, you look at Kotkaniemi, they couldn't just take the first because that would be embarrassing to them. They had to do the thing that made their chests puff up and their biceps be bigger, and made, a choice for a guy that had shown nothing and has shown nothing since.
Yeah. Anyway.
And when he's gone, no one will care.
So in Minnesota on Thursday night, and then back in Montreal versus Columbus on Saturday night, where Canadiens fans will have the opportunity to honor Shea Weber. It's going to be Shea Weber. They're going to be paying homage to Shea Weber on Saturday night, which is pretty cool. By the way, Carey Price in the Hall of Fame next year. Will he be inducted?
Yes, for sure.
His first crack, yeah.
Yep, I think he will be. He won't get in the rafters, but let's not go there again.
And you know what? I agree with you. I think he's going to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I do not think he'll get his jersey retired. But he's going to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame on his first shot. If Shea Weber went in, and I get it, like it's a different, like he's going in with some bigs, Carey Price. He's going in with Duncan Keith, or Duncan Keith is eligible. Carey Price is eligible. Joe Thornton is eligible. There are a lot of players that are,
yes.
But if Shea Weber went in, where he had a good 10 years of dominance as one of your top 5 defensemen in the league, to go to a Stanley Cup final, never to win the cup, to win an Olympic gold, I think Carey Price who won.
They got similar resumes, really.
Yeah, Carey Price, who won a Calder Cup, who won a World Junior, who won an Olympic gold, who went to a Stanley Cup final, and for a period of 10 years
MVP.
was one of the top 5 goalies in hockey. And that 1 year, which I think was 2014, when he won the 4 individual awards, I think Carey Price will get in on his first crack too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you are and the players too, don't forget what the players thought of him.
He was voted by the players as the best goalie in hockey. Every time the polls
even when he wasn't even the best goalie anymore, they still voted him the best goalie. That's
true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Funny. So when you've got that much respect from your peers, it's almost fait accompli. It's almost more important than anything, because that's the word of mouth that gets you in the Hall of Fame. Is the greatness that your peers feel about you.
Brian, always good talking to you. I'll talk to you soon, my man.
All right. Thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Follow him on Twitter. He's Brian Wilde from Global TV Montreal. Marinaro, shout out to Paul Montreal. PEAU Montreal.com is the website. At Paul Montreal on Instagram. Dr. Manish Khanna has a game changer for hair loss. It's called the TED technology. It's an ultrasound technology to boost blood flow to your scalp, getting those hair follicles back in action. It's all natural, no needles, no pain, 98% success rate for ideal candidates. 2 locations, downtown Montreal and the West Island. For a free consult, jot down this number. You can call them tomorrow, 514-989-7328. Special thanks to all of you for watching on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, you should do so. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. I'm Marinaro. Thanks for watching the Sick Podcast. Good night, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.